Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sessions with Flo. I am your host, Flo, and today's episode is going to cover a topic that came to mind when I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues, and this has to do with the concept of Aztlan, or better known as Aztlan. So, some people have asked this question: Is Aztlan, first of all, is it real, right? Is it a myth, or is it a form of colonialism? And you might be asking yourself, oh, how can Aztlan be a form of colonialism? Well, we're going to get into this again this episode. So without further ado, here we go. If you've ever taken a Chicano studies course or have been involved with the Chicano community, Latino community, Native community, whatever you want to call it, you've probably heard of the term Aztlan or Aztlan. Now, what is it? Is it real? Is it a myth? Or is it a form of colonialism? First of all, let's describe exactly what Aztlan is and who came up with it, right? So, according to the Nahuatl people, Aztlan is literally a place of whiteness or place of the heron. It is the ancestral land of the Nahuatl people. Aztlan was a luxurious and delightful place located on a large lake where everyone was immortal and lived happily among abundant resources. In Aztlan, the story goes, the Nahuatl people lived in a place with 7 caves called Chico Mostok. Each cave corresponded to one of the Nahuatl tribes, which would later leave that place to reach in successive waves the basin of Mexico. And the following tribes are as follows: the Xochimilca, the Chalca, the Tepaneca, the Colua, Tlahuica, Tlaxcala, and Mexica, better known as the Aztec. So again, this is a place that these people called the ancestral land. They feel they came from this place and they belong from this place, and a lot of people have referred to this place as the home of all these people, right? And you might be thinking to yourself, well, it sounds like a beautiful place. Why would they ever leave? Right? So we're going to get into that next. So the exact reasoning for leaving Aztlan is unclear, but historians and astronomers believe that based on oral history, the Mexica left Aztlan on May 24, 1064, after the Crab Nebula event. The Mexica would find themselves wandering from place to place until the foundation of Tenochtitlan in 1325. So again, the reason for leaving was unclear. Some have speculated that the people who were ruling this area had become tyrannical, or according to oral history, the Nahuatl people had betrayed some of the gods, therefore they had to leave, right? Now, again, going back to where is it, right? Because people have made many speculations and have many theories as to where it is, but in reality, nobody has been able to pinpoint the exact location of Aztlan. But there are a couple of theories, like I said, and they are the following. First is Western present-day United States. And let me tell you why. There are 61 Uto-Aztecan languages, and some of these are present in what is now the U.S., Mexico, and Central America. And they go as far north as Idaho, where the Shoshone people originate from, and as far south as the Pipil natives from El Salvador. However, the Utah language from Utah is one of those languages, so some linguists believe that this is the exact location of Aztlan. Again, there is no evidence, there is no exact proof, but that is what they've argued. Now, another theory that actually just became more popular, or not more popular, but just read about recently, is that Aztlan is actually the central coast of on the central coast of Mexico, right? A specific city that exists today that still is there today is called Mezcatitlan, and this is in Nayarit. It is home to the Cora people who speak a Uto-Aztecan language, right? And it's located over 500 miles from Mexico City. And the thing about this is that the story of the foundation or the founding of Mezcaltitlan, it's very similar to the foundation of Tenochtitlan. So some people believe that this is the origin of the Mexica, right? Again, there is no exact evidence, but that is another theory. Now, how does this contribute to Aztlan nationalism or Chicano nationalism? Let's get into it. Although the story of Aztlan originated with the Aztecs, it became very popular with Chicanos in the 1960s. Individuals like Reyes López Tijerina and Rodolfo Correa González had a major impact on Aztlan nationalism. For example, Tijerina sought to claim back Spanish and Mexican land grants that were not honored by the Anglo squatters. González, on the other hand, sought to unite Mexican American youth under the term Chicano and el Plan Espiritual de Aztlan, of course. And the plan called for Chicano nationalism and self-determination. And self-determination has been interpreted in a few ways, which include political self-determination, financial self-determination, and of course, Aztlan as a sovereign nation, specifically the U.S. Southwest. And this is where it gets tricky because some folks will either agree that Aztlan is actually a physical place that we are living in today. Some believe it is just a myth, right? It all depends on who you ask. Now, with that being said, there are some folks who say that Aztlan is actually a form of colonialism. You might be thinking to yourself, well, how could this be a form of colonialism if Aztlan originates with the natives? Well, let me tell you why. Many indigenous people, especially reconnecting natives, have criticized Aztlan nationalism. Those individuals who are against Aztlan as a nation claim that Chicano Aztlanistas disregard indigenous people of the Southwest. They argue that since Aztlan is a result of the Mexican-American War and Mexico is a product of the Spanish Empire, it reinforces borders and ultimately colonialism. Indigenous people also claim that since most Chicanos are not indigenous to the Southwest, but rather what is now Mexico, they have no rights to claim the land that historically belonged to natives prior to the Spanish colonization. So that concludes this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was very short, but I wanted to do this episode again because a colleague of mine and I were having a conversation and this came up, right? And I've heard this before again from reconnecting natives. Is this a form of colonization, right? Because a lot of the times, those folks, as my followers will call the landbacks, right? Or landback people, will claim this area as their own, right? Again, and disregard the fact that there are many native groups all over the Southwest that were not the Mexica, right? Now, again, with that said, of course, the Uto-Aztecan language is very, very broad, very big. It encompasses many, many different people. So if you want to make that argument that we're all connected, therefore we do have some connection to the land, if you are part of the Nahua people, then yes, I would say then yeah, you do, or you're coming back, right? But again, there is no conclusive evidence to say that Aztlan actually is part of the Southwest, or this is where Aztlan is, right? I think today Aztlan is more of a political movement. It's not really what the Mexica or the Nahua people talked about. It's something else. So when you hear the term Aztlan, you have to ask that person, well, what are you referring to? Are you referring to the origin story of the Nahuatl people, or are you referring to the Southwest, what we now call the U.S. Southwest? And depending on your answer, I think you can answer the question, right? So if you're asking me if it's the original place and there is concrete evidence that this place is real, then I'm going to say that yes, then Aztlan is a real place. And anybody who has any connections to the Nahuatl people, this is your homeland. Now, if you're referring to just the U.S. Southwest and you have no roots here, then it's not your land. I mean, that's just a fact, right? And I don't know how people are going to take this episode, but, I look forward to hearing in the comment section. Please, again, subscribe, DM me, share, whatever you need to do to help me grow. And also, hopefully you enjoy the episodes, right? Again, on that note, follow me on all the social media platforms. And until the next one, this is Flo. Peace out.
With it alone, who said that we would leave? Who said that we would leave? 725 is a flow, they'll sing. Who said that we would leave? Who said that we would leave? 725 is a flow, they'll sing. Who said that we would leave? Who said that we would leave? 725 is a flow, they'll sing. Who said that we would leave? Who said that we would leave? 725 is a flow, they'll sing.